Thanks, Tiffany. All right, so let's just jump right into it. I was thinking about this talk as a way to kind of engage you all into it. And I thought the best way to do that would be to pose some questions to you and get your brains working to engage in this process of thinking about sleep. So, question number one, what animal needs the least amount of sleep? Any ideas? No, not at all. Humans need quite a bit of sleep. They're kind of in the middle of the pack. Not elephants either. You know, generally speaking, herbivores need less sleep than carnivores. And you can imagine why, right? They're trying to keep an eye out. Well, it turns out one of the biggest herbivores there are, at least on the tallest, is the answer to it. And this is a picture you won't see very often. This is a sleeping giraffe. So a giraffe sleeps about 1.9 hours a day, or a night if you want to say it. And about 20 minutes of that is REM sleep. And REM sleep is the kind of the key restorative phase. We'll talk more about the different phases of sleep here in a bit. Okay, so we got the least. How about the most? Which animal needs the most sleep? You think cats, right? Because I have a cat. The cat's sleeping all the time. But it turns out if you hook them up with electrodes, they're only really sleeping about 10 hours a day, which is, kind of in the middle again. So no, that's not it. And honestly, this one I would try to pull more out of you, but there's no way you're going to be able to pick this animal, and I'll show you. The animal is the big hairy armadillo, otherwise known as the large hairy armadillo. And this one is sleeping. It looks like a red blob. That's its head on one side, its tail on the other side. And it spends about 20.4 hours a day sleeping. But this is controversial because they've only been studied in captivity. And captivity is not in the wild, so it is not the record holder for the animal that sleeps the most in the wild, proven by science. That championship is possessed by the little brown bat. And the little brown bat is one of the most common bats in North America. It occurs all the way across the continent, even up into Alaska, in the southern Alaska. And the reason why the little brown bat sleeps so much is because it's so little. And it has to eat, has a high metabolism, and if it's active all the time, it's going to burn out all its energy resources. So it goes and flies and catches a bunch of bugs, and then goes back to its cave and hunkers down and sleeps. That's a way to keep its energy. This is not the end of the fun facts, though. We have another fun fact. What animal can sleep 1/2 of their brain at a time? Now, wouldn't that be a great trick? Birds. That is correct. Birds. And it turns out quite a few birds, a wide variety of birds can do that. And again, it's so that they can be alert. Also, it's theorized that they when they're on long migration flights, they're flying, 2,000 miles. You want to be able to shut off half their brain and keep on flying. So many birds. There's also another animal. Anybody want to venture a guess on that one? I'll just show you. Okay, dolphins. Dolphins. And the thought there is that dolphins have to breathe all the time. They can't sleep and sleep on the bottom, right? It doesn't work for them. So they sleep half their brain so they can go up, down. Not just dolphins, all whales and basically pinnipeds, porpoises, and seals, too. Seals have the same thing. And we have a mallard duck on this side. Okay, more fun facts. This slide didn't come out. Okay, sleep fun facts. Okay, this was really weird. Whoa! I missed it. Let's go back. Well, whatever, it's not working. So let me just tell you, the picture works. So what the researchers discovered in 1988 is if you shine a bright light on the back of someone's knees, you can reset their internal clock. No one knows why. No one understands exactly why that part of the body is sensitive to this, but it's been shown unequivocally. This is one way you could reset your internal clock.
Do shift workers use that all the time?
They could.
What about jet lag?
They could. That's correct. They could. You could shine it on the back of your knees, and you can correct for jet lag. That'll be one of the things we talk about. This is the last slide I have in the presentation.
How long to shine it?
20 minutes.
Why would you want to do that?
Well, so that you can reset your clock so you'll sleep at the right time. If you're flying jet laggy, what happens is your internal clock says it's 8 o'clock in the afternoon, and actually it's 2 a.m. in the morning. So, right, and then you can reset your internal clock by doing that. There's other ways to do that too. Okay, another fun fact. 17 hours of sustained wakefulness leads to a decrease in performance equivalent to blood alcohol levels of 0.05. Well, okay, interesting, but let's translate that in reality. How many beers does it take to get to a blood level of 0.05? 3. That's correct. For me. Now, if you're bigger, it'll take more. If you're smaller, it'll take less. That is my favorite beer. Bridgeport IPA. I love that beer. 3 of those beers. And I got 3 beers? That's a lot of beer. I never drink 3 beers. I'd be wasted. So there you go. If you don't get enough sleep, you test out like that. Another fun fact. Diaries from pre-electric light Victorian era show that adults slept 9 to 10 hours a night, more or less, depending on the season. In the winter, they slept more. In the summer, they slept less. But they slept overall quite a bit more. And, this is not really, it's a fun fact, but it's not like hasn't been known for a long time. I remember learning this as a kid. Back before electric lights, people slept more because they were bored. They were just sitting around, and light was expensive. Way back in the day, a candle was super expensive. It took a lot of energy to make a candle. You had to get the bees and all that stuff.
And they worked harder all day.
And they needed the sleep to recover, yeah. So times are different. People sleep less nowadays than they used to. Okay. What do all these events have in common? That's Chernobyl. That's Exxon Valdez. And that's the Challenger crew. Yeah, you can think about the talk we're doing here. Of course, you know what I'm going to get to, which is they were all precipitated by people not getting enough sleep. So that's a serious problem. Okay, why do we sleep? Because we have to. And that's as good an answer as any. People don't know. It's been looked at. It's been researched. There's all kinds of things that we know that happen. Repair mechanisms kick on at night. Our immune systems get upregulated at night. Our growth hormone comes on at night. Kids grow at night. So there's lots and lots of things that happen at night. And it's certainly absolutely necessary to our survival. But why exactly? Nobody knows. We do know, as we looked at the animal stuff earlier, that all mammals and birds need REM sleep. That's rapid eye movement sleep. It's required. If you take a rat, which normally lives 2 to 3 years, and you keep it awake and do not let it sleep at all, it will get anxious, it will get wacky, it will get sores on its tail and on its paws, thought to be due to the fact that there's an immune dysfunction going on, and it will die in about 3 weeks. Now, if you just stop it from doing REM sleep, it'll die in 5 weeks. So sleep is absolutely required for survival. Okay, so we're going to do a sleep primer now. And this is so we could talk about sleep throughout the rest of the lecture. What I want to do is I want to go over really what sleep is and the various stages and levels. Now, I'll tell you, before we get too far into this, there's 5 stages of sleep. But don't get the impression that they're completely different stages. They're not. One, gradually fades into the other, gradually fades into the other. The reason why they've been separated out is because there's some distinct differences in these states due to the amount of movement or not, due to the kind of brain waves people have or not, and due to the kind of things that can go wrong with these various stages or not. So stage 1, light sleep, characterized by the fact that eyes move very slowly, muscle activity slows, people can be easily wakened, and they're really sleeping. They're lightly sleeping, but they're actually sleeping. And for a long time, it was thought that dreams only occurred during REM sleep, because clearly that's where the dreams are most vivid. But no, I've done research and found out that people have a kind of a dream state that comes in stage 1. And there's something else I haven't written here, which is important for stage 1, which is people tend to jerk. Now, you may have known this yourself. You lay down, you get comfortable, and then you kind of startle, or part of your body jerks. This is common in stage 1. Not everybody gets it. Some people do, some people don't. But occasionally that jerk sensation can go bad. Okay, stage 2 basically is more of the same. You get calmer, you get deeper, everything kind of slows down. And this particular stage is the most common stage of sleep. You spend about 40-45% of your night in stage 2. Because stage 1, you're just coming down into it. But stage 2, you settle into it, then you proceed down to the deeper stages, then you come back up. So you hit stage 2 coming down, and you hit stage 2 coming back up again. So you spend a lot of time in stage 2 relative to the other stages. Stage 3 is deeper, and what you start seeing is delta waves. It's a particularly kind of slow wave. I thought about putting a picture up, but who cares? It's just a slow wave that shows. Okay, stage 4, we're talking a little bit more about stage 4. It's the deepest sleep. Okay, first of all, it's basically only delta waves show up. So very restful, very hard to wake somebody up from stage 4. That's the kind of thing you have to yell at them and shake them, and it takes a while to get somebody out of stage 4, and they're groggy and discombobulated, and they really don't know where they're at, and they're disoriented. So it's definitely deep sleep. There's no eye movement, and then people, I just mentioned this, so they're groggy when they wake up. Oh, and here's the other thing. If there's going to be weirdness at night, where people are walking or sleeping or doing weird things, it tends to happen in stage 4. Oddly enough, you would think they were totally, dead to the world like a log, right? But no, there's parts of them can kick on, and they can wander around the house and talk and walk and eat and do all kinds of stuff at night, and I have no idea about it. They wake up in the morning, no recollection, no idea it happened. It's kind of weird. My dad was famous for doing this. It was always like, whoa, weird. And he was a very avid motorcyclist. And one day he gets up, he wanders in the living room, and he says, "Motors!" Whoa! He likes motorcycles. Okay, last stage, the REM stage. Okay, this one's weird. I'll show you in the next slide how it fits in with it. But it's the weird thing about REM sleep. It's sleep for sure. No question about it. Necessary, required sleep for our survival. But if you hook up the EEG and check the brain waves, you can't tell that they're sleeping. They look like they're awake. And their eyes dart all around following the movie that's playing in their head, because that's where the dreaming is most vivid. Breathing gets more rapid and irregular. They get activated. The eye jerking. Oh, and here's the other thing. There's a disconnect between the brain and the muscles. So the brain, is moving, it's sending signals, it's telling them that they're, playing tennis or flying through whatever, think of all the dreams you've had, weird dreams. And yet they don't move. Their muscles are literally paralyzed. They simply can't move. So there's heart rate increases, blood pressure rises as if they're active. Penile erection, so it's working on all different ways. And these vivid, bizarre, illogical things that are getting played out, which are dreams. I'm going to resist the temptation to go into dreams. It will eat up a whole bunch of time, and the bottom line is people don't know why we dream. There's some researchers who think it is absolutely central to human existence and consciousness as we know it. Other researchers say, it doesn't mean anything. You just take brains and you jiggle them a little bit, and then you have this ability to have consciousness. You put those two things together, you get dreams. It really doesn't mean anything. So we just simply don't know. We know that REM is super important. Now, this is an important slide. This slide really will teach you something about sleep. Okay, so let me work on this side. Sorry, those folks over there. Anyways. Okay, so here you are awake. You go through stage 1. And know how these little steps, that's not how it works. One gradually goes into the other. This is just an artifact of the slide. You don't click into the next stage. Okay, so you stage 1, and here's stage 2 coming down, 3, 4. And notice this is fairly long. It's about a 90-minute, maybe 2-hour thing. And then you're coming back up. Notice how long you're in stage 2, a little longer. And then you get this little short burst of REM. You may wake up here. People do. Briefly wake up, look around, look at the clock. I don't know, maybe not. And then they go back to sleep. So if you're waking up in the middle of the night, a lot of folks will think, that's not right. I should be sleeping the night through. No, it's okay. It's normal. There's nothing wrong with it. People don't suffer. You don't go crazy. There's nothing wrong that comes with it. You wake up, as long as you fall right back asleep. Now, you stay awake for an hour, you got a problem. So this wakefulness area. So then anyways, you go back down, up, down. Now notice as the night goes through, you start losing the deep levels of sleep, and then the REM sleep gets longer. So your most vivid dreams tend to occur right before you wake up. Yeah. Yep, that's just how it works. Okay, so let's talk about how things go bad. Now we're going to talk about acute sleep deprivation to start with. Like, how long can you go without sleeping and what will happen? Okay, so impaired mental function. So I want you to start from 100 and count backwards by nines, right? Start thinking about that. How long does it take you to get to 1? That kind of stuff doesn't work. It's like, oh, what? Impaired coordination. Okay, I want you to hop on 1 foot. Whoa, because remember, you've got a 3-beer buzz going now. Decreased immune function. That's important to know. Mood swings. Okay, eventually you get into hallucinations. Your brain's determined to have dreams, even when you're awake. And then finally, death. Ugh, we hate when that happens. Now, it doesn't happen very often where somebody gets insomnia so bad that they die. Now, remember, animal studies, they get that way. And there's been reports of people trying to set the record for going the longest without sleeping and dying. There was this newspaper report came from China that I read. I don't know if it was true or not. Maybe he was going to die of something else already. It's not a good idea to see how long you can go without dying. But the currently proven world record, this is another fun fact, I'm sorry, I put another one in here, is slightly over 11 days without sleep. And it was a teenager in 1964 in California, and he was fine. In fact, at the end of the 11 days, he did a press conference, and his comment was, I just want to show you all that you don't need to sleep, and you can still be in good shape. He was coherent, he wasn't crazy, he wasn't doing anything. Now, he didn't sleep for a long time when he got a chance. He's up for 14 hours straight, was up for a few hours, was up for another 14 hours straight or something like that. So it took him a while to catch back up, but he was fine. No long-term problems with it whatsoever. But I'm thinking he's the exception. And it's not recommended. I'm just letting you guys know. If you want to set the record, don't do it. The Guinness Book of World Records will not take your submission. It's too dangerous. Okay, complications of insomnia. This slide's pretty good. This is one little thing. I'll get to it in a bit. But anyways, these things we've seen already. Here, we'll spread it around. Risk of depression, anxiety, slow reaction time, lower performance. We would expect all these things based on the information we have already. Poor immune function, likewise. Obesity. Now, this is interesting. What does obesity have anything to do with insomnia? How's that even possible? Well, it turns out it's real straightforward. There are hormones in your body that regulate appetite and hormones that regulate your metabolism, and they both go wonky if you don't sleep. It makes you more hungry and more likely to gain weight. So insomnia leads to weight gain. That wasn't bad enough already. That makes it, that clinches it. High blood pressure. Again, I'm finding the tendency to do the whole talk on these things. The mechanisms are interesting, how it all comes together. We're going to talk about it a little bit, but insomnia is very closely related to blood sugar problems. In fact, a lot of times you can treat insomnia the same way you treat diabetes and get results with it. In fact, people with diabetes have more higher rates of insomnia. There's close correlation between it. And diabetes is related to weight gain due to the effect of insulin. We're going to talk a little bit more about the story as we go on, but just kind of setting the stage right now. Heart disease likewise goes up. Risk of diabetes we just talked about. And one that's not up there is cancer. The cancer rates, there's some evidence that they're higher, certain kinds of cancer, but where the real evidence is your ability to survive the cancer is much less if you have a sleep problem. So with breast cancer, for example, the survival rate is half for people who have insomnia, women who have insomnia. That's a big difference. So that's a major risk factor when you're getting treatment, whether you're sleeping, whether you're not sleeping. It's one of the reasons why melatonin is so effective at improving survival rates. Melatonin is not the only way to help with sleep by any means. It's a fairly minor player. But nonetheless, melatonin increases survival rate, even in women who don't have sleep problems.
And insomnia. Can you give us a little
I appreciate that question. We're coming right up to it. Let's talk about how many people have it, and then we'll talk about the types. Okay, a lot of people have it. 90 million Americans have some problem with their sleep. 40 million have a chronic sleep disorder defined by you can't sleep, some problem 3 nights a week. So if you're 3 nights a week, you're considered a chronic sleep disorder person for a month. 60 million have frequent insomnia. And then basically everybody's got insomnia from time to time. It's a universal problem. just nobody in this room has not had insomnia ever, unless you have. If you never had insomnia, raise your hand. No sleep problem whatsoever. Yeah, see, everybody gets some from time to time, even me. Here's an interesting fact. This is not a fun fact. This is a sad fact, which is 40 to 50% of the people, depending on the research you look at, of people over 70 years old have some kind of sleep problem. Sleep problems get more and more common as we age. Yuck. That doesn't bode well. Okay, sleep disorders. This is going to answer your question. Okay, there's 70 named ones. Forget it. We're not going to name all of them. We're going to. This is the list of what we're going to talk about. They are difficulty falling asleep, difficulty staying asleep, difficulty sleeping deeply, seasonal affective disorder. Of course, this is Fairbanks. We've got to talk about that. Sleep apnea, which is unbelievably common, by the way. And then finally, jet lag. Okay, here's what we're not going to talk about. And this is hard. I want to talk about every one of these on the list. Restless leg. There's some really good treatments. Forget it. We're not talking about it. Narcolepsy, sleepwalking, talking, or eating. Sleep eating. Ugh, we hate that. Dr. Luber, I've been dieting so strictly, and I can't lose weight. I had that conversation today, by the way. Nightmares. Interesting, nightmares. How that all works, right? And by the way, these are stage 4 problems, right? The sleepwalking nightmares. Bruxism, sleep paralysis. Now, this is an interesting one. You wake up in the morning, time to get up. Ooh, my body doesn't move. Doesn't go anywhere. I'm trapped. Talk about the first time that happens. That'll weird your day out. Think about it. Why does that happen? We know why it happens. Remember that disconnect between your brain and your body when you're doing REM sleep? Well, sometimes it doesn't reconnect right away. So it's a switch that got flipped and didn't get flipped back. So it turns out it's okay. Just chill for a while. It'll flip.
I have never heard of exploding head syndrome.
Now, that's another weird one. No, people's heads do not actually explode. That's what I thought. No, what happens is this is a problem with stage 1 sleep. Remember I talked about that jerk that people do from time to time? Well, it doesn't only affect your body, it can affect your mind. So what these people do is they get a jerk in their brain where they hear a loud sound, like a gunshot or an explosion, cymbal crash, something like that. They're laying down to sleep, ever so calm and peaceful, and then bam, they hear the sound. And it startles them. And then they wake up like, oh, what's this? You know, they go to the doctor and say, hey, what's going on? Well, it's a manifestation of that stage 1 jerky thing. It's not dangerous. Nobody has actually explode. Okay, I love this. I can see noises. This guy's got a problem, right? Okay, so what causes arousal insomnia? Now, this is the most common kind of insomnia. This is the one where people lay down and they can't go to sleep. Their mind's racing. They're thinking about all kinds of stuff, or they're thinking about nothing. They're just activated is what it is. And what's causing this is real straightforward. It's stress hormones. Enhanced arousal due to normal, healthy, regular stress hormones. Those stress hormones are there for a reason. They're to help us be alert. They're there to help us survive. They're there to equip us to deal with the vicissitudes of life. There's nothing broken with stress. Stress is there for a good reason, and it's a healthy process of life. I want to say that again. Stress is healthy. It's useful. It's a good thing. So when you're feeling stressed, what you should be thinking is, my body is working great. I'm equipped to deal with the vicissitudes of life. And if you have that thought, your chance of getting stress-related illness drops drastically. If you think, I feel stress, that causes all kinds of other changes and you can whack out because the way our brains work, it affects us. The attitude is important. Anyways, so what happens in this case is the challenges of life cause our body to release more of these chemicals so that we're more alert. And it takes a while for them to wear off. It just does. So if you're watching some very exciting movie and then it's time to go to bed, I don't think so. Silence of the Lambs. I had to quit in the middle of that movie. It was just too much. Right? Like that. Or you're reading some novel, or you're having this intense conversation with your partner, or you decided, I'm going to start exercising, and you're going at it hammer and tongs right before bed. All of these things will naturally raise up your stress hormones. Another thing is blue light. Blue light is the middle of the daylight. It's not sunset light. It's the middle of the daylight. So we get a stimulatory effect from blue light. Well, it turns out your phone's got blue light in it. Your TV's got blue light in it. Your computer's got blue light in it. So you're sitting banging out emails right before you go to sleep. Then you go, dang, I can't fall asleep. What's the deal with that? Blue light is one of those things that will affect it. Now, some people could work on their computer, fall immediately asleep, and some people can't. You know, it's like an accumulative thing. If there's a threshold where you can't sleep, and you're on the edge of that threshold already, right, from all the different problems, bam, you go over it easily. Blue light's enough to do it. Now, if you're super calm and relaxed and it's down here, you could have blue light and cups of coffee and all different kinds of stuff down here, and you never reach the threshold, right? So people are different. So some things may be a problem for some people, may not be a problem for other people. So it's a chance. Come on in. So it's a chance that you'll have a problem based on the kind of overall big picture. And that's what you need to be looking at. At least I need to be looking at as a doctor trying to figure these things out. Okay, and we've already touched upon the next things. Stimulatory drugs. Now, it's interesting about these drugs. Why do these drugs stimulate? It's weird. Why do they stimulate? Why would we have that stimulatory effect? Well, it's actually turns out to be very simple. It's because the size and the shape of the molecules are very similar to the size and the shape of the molecules that our body makes on its own. Now you think about coffee. Why coffee? Of all the things we drink, this is an obscure bush that grows in Arabia. Why not South America? Or, I don't know, Brazil or something. I mean, Siberia. Why Arabia? Why this particular bush? And the answer is real straightforward. It's because the beans make an insecticide that's called caffeine that happens to mimic the stress chemicals, the catecholamines that are naturally occurring in our body. And we like that effect. We like that awareness. We like the lift that we get from it, which is lovely. Caffeine's got some health benefits. It turns out to be very healthy in lots of ways, but not here. Not at night, not when it jacks up your stress chemicals, and so you can't sleep. Okay, anyways, there's arousal. Okay, the treatment of arousal insomnia. Now that we understand a little bit about this arousal insomnia, you could kind of figure out on your own what kind of things would be helpful, right? I could ask around the room. You guys could pick out stuff, but let me just summarize it. Good sleep hygiene. Sleep is not something where you say, okay, you're busy, and then you just go, time to sleep, and you just, bam, hit the bed and expect to fall asleep. Admittedly, some people do. If you fall asleep in less than 5 minutes, chances are you were too tired. You probably should have been sleeping more. It should take about 15 minutes to kind of wind down. And actually, for people who have a sleep problem, you should give yourself a solid hour. The golden hour rule. So an hour before you go to sleep, what you should do is wind down. And do the kinds of things that are relaxing. Get your body in that mode where you flow naturally into sleep. And there's all kinds of things that you can do. Think for a moment, right now, the kinds of things that you know that are helpful to calm down and get ready for bed. Now let's see if the thing you just thought of is on the list. Avoid exercise before bed. I've been wanting to exercise, and the only time I can do it is right before bed. Wrong. Not a good time. Okay, relaxing bath. There's something about water that's particularly helpful. Water's grounding. Water supports us. It supports our weight. It has a special effect at calming us.
What's the heat?
And the heat, absolutely. You know, the heat actually prepares us to sleep. There's a warmth that comes that makes us feel relaxed, and then we are ready to sleep. So it's one of the simplest, most effective ways to get ready to go to bed. Now, if you really want to do it right, you'll add something to the water that enhances the relaxing effect of it. Lavender is famous for it, right? Chamomile is famous for it. There's all kinds of herbs that you can do. Valerian, for that matter. Okay, blue light. I bet some of you thought about this. Put the screens away an hour before you go to bed. Calm reading. This is what I do. I get books, not crime novels, right, where people are killing. I get calm reading. Scientific journal type stuff. Phone book, except for phone book, what's that?
That's not a question about, have you read anything about how effective there's programs that will reduce blue light on your computer and phone, twilight programs?
I'm familiar with them. And there's screens that'll filter out the blue light and just simply have the red light go through. That's true. You can actually do that. That should be helpful because we're used to red light at the end of the day. That's sunset. So yeah, our bodies know what to deal with the red light. Red light's fine. So I don't know. I haven't seen research on how effective that is, but it seems logical. It seems appropriate. It also seems appropriate just to put the computers away. Okay, comfortable bed and bedroom. Duh. If you're sleeping on sticks, it's going to be hard to fall asleep. Or straw. I'm thinking of these childhood stories, right? Anyways, get a comfortable bed and a nice pillow, clean sheets. Clean sheets go a long way. Think of how clean sheets are. You put them on the first time, you put them over. Oh, I like that feeling of clean sheets, like that. A warm, caffeine-free drink before bed. Classically, milk. And it really does work. Milk's got protein in it. And protein helps regulate your blood sugars. We'll talk more about the blood sugar regulation. Remember I told you this is one of the key things to help improve your sleep. And a protein snack before bed is helpful. Same thing. Oh, and back to the exercise, regular exercise. Honestly, one of the single most effective things you can do to help yourself sleep. And this goes in the category of duh. Okay, if you want to fall asleep, what you should do first is get tired. It does wonders. I'm not kidding. Really. It works amazingly well. So if you exercise, then, yeah, you're tired. Okay, treatment of arousal insomnia. This is one of my favorite supplements, by the way. It's helped so many people. It's called Cortisol Manager. We'll talk more about cortisol here in a bit. But this is the talk that I think you guys expected me to do, which is here's the supplements, here's what they do, here's the mechanism of action, here's the research on it. You know, in 1997, 432 people, I didn't want to do that lecture. That's not the lecture I'm doing today. You can tell. I'm doing a fun lecture. I'm doing a lecture that's informative, but I'm not going to do that one. So let me just touch upon that lecture and list some things that are helpful. Phosphatidylserine is particularly helpful at lowering one key stress chemical called cortisol. It's the chemical our bodies use to wake us up. And it will be moderated, not shut down, not blocked, just moderated by phosphatidylserine. Phosphatidylserine is related to phosphatidylcholine, otherwise known as lecithin, which is a constituent of cell membranes. And what this stuff is apparently doing is stabilizing cell membranes while blocking the receptors for cortisol. Anyways, it calms you down, makes it easier to sleep and easier to stay asleep. L-theanine. This is a amino acid that's naturally occurring in green tea. So you think green tea would be a stimulating drink because of the caffeine in it, but the caffeine content in green tea is relatively low, about a quarter of what's in a cup of coffee per unit volume. Depends how you make your coffee, though, too. And it's naturally calming. We actually sell it in pill form at the clinic in a formula that's called 200 milligrams of Zen. I love that name. It's so poetic. And it does. It really does. It calms people down. Okay, gamma-aminobutyric acid. We're not going to use that ugly word anymore. We're going to call it GABA. It's a lovely word. GABA is particularly important. GABA is a amino acid. It's a short amino acid. It's the shortest and simplest neurotransmitter in the brain, and its job is to put the brakes on. It's an inhibitory neurotransmitter. It slows down thought. It slows down basically all the noise in your brain. It's lovely. It works very well. I use it to treat all kinds of stuff. Epilepsy, manic depression, every time you want to put the brakes on something, anxiety, you can use GABA. Now, there's some controversy about whether it gets across the blood-brain barrier, and there's forms of it you can use to get it across the blood-brain barrier. And again, that's the technical talk that I'm not doing tonight. Let me just keep it simple. GABA is helpful. And the 200 milligrams of Zen is a combination of GABA and theanine, both those ingredients. If you take too much, you'll get tired. Huh, funny. Melatonin, of course, melatonin. Melatonin I really, really, really like a lot because melatonin is gentle. What melatonin does is it tells our brains it's time for bed. It's a signal. There's no toxicity to it. You can take the whole bottle at once, and you'll get tired. And that's it. You won't get sick. It doesn't cause warts. It doesn't do anything bad. It just makes you tired is what it does. Now, if you have a determined insomnia, and you take melatonin, it will not work. I'll tell you right now. It will. If you're super cranked up on catecholamines and stress chemicals, melatonin is going to do nothing. It is not the cure for insomnia by any means. But if you've done your golden hour and set things up and calm things down, and you're trying to get your internal clock to turn on at the appropriate time, this is your ticket. It's one of the most powerful things that you can do to help encourage your body to sleep. It's gentle. It's effective in used in the right way. It's a very lovely chemical.
So when you take it?
You know, it's a good question. I usually take it about an hour before I want to fall asleep if I take it. I don't usually have much of a sleep problem. The only time I personally really take melatonin, I've used it in lots and lots of patients, but the time I personally take it is when I have jet lag, because it is the cure for jet lag, because it'll reset your internal clock. It works better than anything I've ever used for jet lag.
Have you heard about nightmares?
Say that again?
Nightmares caused from it?
Yeah, no, not that I know of. You know, okay, since I'm a doctor, and I've been a doctor for over 20 years and seen lots and lots of people, I've discovered that anything can cause anything. So it's possible that someone with melatonin could get nightmares. It's possible someone taking melatonin could get sleeplessness. I've actually seen that. Where people take melatonin and they came back and they said, I'm a wreck. I haven't slept a wink since you started me on melatonin. Oh, sorry. Oops. Let's try something else. Rhodiola is a particularly effective herb. This is a herb that calms down. It balances cortisol levels again. It's one of the key constituents in Cortisol Manager, the product that I have listed up here. Magnesium. Magnesium is particularly calming. We sell a form of magnesium in the clinic called Natural Calm. I love that name. And it works. It really does. It calms. It brings blood pressure down. It relaxes smooth muscle. It's very calming. Now, again, it won't force you to be calm. If you're hell-bent on being activated from all these stress chemicals, it won't touch it. But if you've done everything to prepare it, it'll grease the skids and allow you to get relaxed. There's lots of forms of magnesium. Oxide is the most common one. I don't recommend it. It's cheap. It doesn't take up much volume, so you can pack a lot of it into a pill. If you want to take one pill, you get the most amount of magnesium in the oxide form. The problem with it is the absorption is not really good. And if you take a lot, you get diarrhea. Ugh. That's a nasty side effect of magnesium. In fact, it's sold for that. It's called milk of magnesia. Natural laxative. So if you really want to get magnesium levels in you, what you should be doing is taking a chelated form of it, something 8. The malate is the one that's most calming. We give it to people who have fibromyalgia and those kinds of things where we really want to calm folks down. The citrate is what's in the Natural Calm. It's easily absorbed, relatively inexpensive. More and more products, if you get magnesium in, are having citrate. The quality ones have magnesium citrate or malate in them. Okay, some more treatments of arousal insomnia. This is a picture of valerian. It's the root that's used, and that's our first herb. I'm not going to say much about valerian. The research is not really that good on it. When they actually try it, it's certainly been used for a long time. A lot of people swear by it. But if you actually take people with insomnia and put them on valerian, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Remember, there's just not one cause to insomnia, so it's not like you could take one thing and get it to get better. But what the valerian seems to be doing, its mechanism of action, is it stimulates the GABA receptors in our brain. Remember, GABA calms our brain down. So the GABA receptors, usually receptive to GABA, but in lieu of GABA, you can give them valerian, and that'll calm their brain down. There's another drug that's, I know some of you are on right now. It's called Neurontin. That's a gabapentin is what it is, or Valium for that matter. All of these tranquilizers use the same mechanism. They interact with the GABA receptors in the brain, and that's why they calm people down. So valerian is kind of like a natural version of Valium. They both start with a V. Hops, one of my favorite herbs. Love those hops. They're naturally calming, mostly. I've had some bad experiences with the hops with some of my patients. So I said, let's try a hop tincture. Well, no. We're going to do a spring malted hop tonic, otherwise known as a beer. No. Actually, I give them a hop tincture, which is hops concentrated into a very small amount of alcohol to keep it preserved. Most of the time, people will get calm and relax from it. Occasionally, you'll get a paradoxical effect. Kind of what I talked about before. Anything can cause anything. So I've had a particularly bad experience with that back in the early 2000s. Passion flower is helpful. Kava kava is helpful. Lemon balm is helpful. Lots and lots of things are helpful. Okay, that's enough for arousal insomnia. Now let's talk about this middle of the night insomnia. Now this one is very different from what we're talking about before. This one is you wake up at 3 a.m. like it's time to get up. and you look at the clock, why am I awake? And you're just like ready to go. And then, but you haven't got a full night's sleep. Who's got this one? Raise your hand if you've ever had this. Look how common it is. Me too. Out of the blue. It's like, what is going on here? This is totally weird. Allow me to explain. Okay, first of all, this wake at 2 to 3 a.m. and you remain awake for an hour or two. Okay, here's what's causing it. Cortisol. Cortisol is that chemical that causes us to wake up in the morning. What you do is you get a cortisol surge in the middle of the night. That's what's waking us up. And that's why it takes an hour or an hour and a half, maybe even 2, to fall back asleep, because you've got to wash the cortisol out of your system. Until it's gone, it's a fool's hope to be able to sleep. You just literally have to let nature take its course. There's really no chance of you ever getting back to sleep. But you do have a chance of intervening on this one by not letting your blood sugars go up. Now, here's the problem. Where's my thingy? Okay, so we're looking at a blood sugar graph here. These are blood sugar levels, and this is time, and this is minutes going on here. So what we're looking at with the red one is a high-carb meal. Call it cornflakes, okay? Or toast, or rice balls, whatever, some kind of starchy thing. This is what happens, up and down. What goes up must come down. Now at the up here, your body senses high blood sugar, so it does what it's designed to do. It releases insulin. Insulin causes your body to take the excess blood sugar and store it as fat. So if you want to gain weight, what you do is you eat lots of carbs, triggering a hormone that causes carb storage. Okay? Now it does so very effectively, so effective in fact that the blood sugars drop precipitously and they get low. At this point, your brain doesn't like it. It says, I need sugar. It needs sugar to live on. So it triggers the release of a hormone, cortisol, to bring your blood sugars back up. So this happens in the middle of the night, typically around 3 a.m. Note the time here in terms of hours. Around 3 a.m., what happens is cortisol levels kick in, your blood sugars come back up, and you wake up like, okay, it's time to get up now. It's working. There's nothing broken. The system's working perfectly. It's doing exactly what it's designed to do. So if you don't want to wake up at 3 a.m., you've got to get rid of this to get rid of that. The high levels is what's causing the low levels. So how do you do that? Don't eat toast. Eat beets and nuts and protein. Yeah, protein. Now this graph here is a low-carb, high-fat meal. Fat won't raise your blood sugars up. Neither will protein much. Eventually it will. But your body has to go through a lot of steps. It's a lot of extra work, and it slows the whole process down. So we see nice, even blood sugars all the way through. So there's no waking in this one here. So this is interesting, but this is a better slide. This one really shows it clearly. I'm sorry it's a little fuzzy. It's the best version I can get. But what we're looking at here is cortisol levels, specifically cortisol levels over a 24-hour period. And what we see is when you go to bed, your cortisol levels are basically flat zero. And that's the signal for your body to go to sleep, because it's calming. Cortisol is a wake-up hormone. So you kind of bounce along through the night, and then towards the end of the night, the cortisol levels start to climb, and bam, now you're awake. And they peak, and then they spend the rest of the day coming down. Notice that they go up, and they go up again. This is lunch. This is between lunch and dinner. Your blood sugars have got low. You're hungry. Your body releases cortisol. This is between dinner and going to bed. Your blood sugars have got low. Your body releases cortisol, increases your blood sugars back up. Okay? And then it goes back down to go to bed. And look at this one. This is where blood sugars got too low and you got a little spike. Now, you take that spike up to here, or up to here maybe, spike it up a little bit, now you're awake. It's very straightforward. See, isn't this fun? I just taught you guys something. So how many people raise their hands and have this problem? You never knew what was causing it, right? Now you do. It was worth the price of admission.
So you said protein?
Larry.
Like the protein in the middle of the night.
You can. Actually, it's one of the things you can do is you're going to get up and go eat something. Now, it's not going to put you back to sleep because cortisol is already in your system. You're up for an hour. There's no stopping that. You might as well go do something. You know, play asteroids on your phone or something like that. No, that's bad. No, I'm kidding. Don't do that. That's bad.
So eating, would it be a good idea to eat like peanut butter and apples or something like that before you go to bed?
That's an excellent question. The answer is yes, but not really. I'm sorry to give you the bad news, but it turns out that spike at night had more to do with what you had to eat for breakfast. Because what goes up must come down, which goes up must come down. And you get these big sweeping changes in blood sugar, and they have momentum. Because when they go down, you're hungry. You're like weak with hunger. So you eat something, and they jack back up. Not only that, you're hungry, but you're going through the cupboard looking for something good. I want some crackers. I want something that's got a little something in it, right? You know what you want. That thing, right? Because it's good. Well, it turns out to be sweet. Or it's got a characteristic to it that raises your blood sugars up fast, so you feel better. So now you're in the cycle. You do that thingy, right? Ritz crackers, whatever it is, your blood sugars go up again, and then they start crashing down again. So that's the cycle you have to break. So you have to eat in a way that flattens your blood sugars.
So is that process any different for people with diabetes?
No, it's the same. You treat it as if it was diabetes. It's exactly the same. It's blood sugar regulation is the key thing. So here's how to do it. Eat protein with every meal. Protein's great. You can even eat carbohydrates, and that will flatten the curve based on the fact you had some protein with your meal. 5 handfuls of vegetables and fruit every day. The fiber slows this whole process down. You know, drinking apple juice as opposed to eating an apple. The apple juice doesn't have any fiber in it. Your blood sugar goes skyrocketing high. Whereas the apple, your body has to work to get at that juice. It's the same amount of calories, the same amount of carbohydrate load, but it's released in a different way.
No sugar added.
Yeah, no sugar added, right, exactly. Okay, limit starches to high fiber types. That'll slow the release of sugar. Whole grains being a high fiber type. And then have a protein snack before bed. That's why the almonds are on the slide. That's a classic snack before bed. You want a snack before bed? Almonds are great. They got a little carbohydrate in them. They got some fiber in them. They got some protein in them. It's like an ideal snack.
Like just before you go to bed, or like an hour before you go to bed?
Yeah, either way, whenever. If you're a little hungry, have that. Okay, we're going to have to pound through the rest of these slides. I want to have some question time here. So, light sleep insomnia, inability to reach deep sleep levels. The treatment's the same, good sleep hygiene. But there's some key things that are different about this one. Exercise is key. You've got to exercise to be able to sleep more deeply. It's a tiredness thing again. Alcohol is key. Alcohol is funny because alcohol is a depressant. You drink a couple of shots of whiskey before you go to bed, you can fall asleep easier. I know people use this as a sleep aid. They'll have a nightcap. There's a name for it, right? But what happens is you fall asleep, but you don't sleep deeply. You don't get to the deeper levels. So you wake up feeling, bad and wrong. Nicotine. Nicotine's a stimulant. Do the same thing. Avoid sleeping pills. Now here's the rub. Sleeping pills you take so you can sleep better, and you do. You fall asleep better, but you don't hit the deep stages of sleep. You don't. It just blocks you from going to the deep stages. So now you're trapped. The rest of your life, you got to take sleeping pills because you quit taking them, you don't sleep. It's hard to fall asleep, right? And you keep taking them, but you don't really get the sleep that you want and need. Ugh. Now, doctors know this, and they say sleeping pills are only to be used on a temporary basis. Yeah, but how do you stop? Well, you do sleep hygiene. You do other kinds of things. It turns out there's a lot of solutions to the problem, but there's no pill that's going to fix this problem. It's a lifestyle problem. My son Dylan's sitting in the middle here, and I talked to him about this talk, and he said, "So, Dad, what's the deal with this?" I said, "Well, turns out it's eat right and exercise." He was like, "Oh, that again." Every talk you do is eat right and exercise. Yes, you're right. Correct. Okay, seasonal affective disorder. Let me not read the slide. Let me just get down to it. It's a problem in the north particularly. People tend to get it in the fall. They get depressed. They get tired. The falling light levels are the problem here. And it throws off our circadian clock. Some people are weird, though. They'll get the problem actually in the springtime. It was when the light starts coming back is when they get it. It's associated, at least that version is associated with low vitamin D levels. And I say that because you give them vitamin D and they get better. The cure for this one is light. That's a light box. That's a Philips light. Notice the color of the light. That's important. That blue light again. That's the one that actually works. I've seen those big light white boxes. They work too. But you can have a little blue light about that big, and it'll do the same thing as that big light box.
Can you do it? Put it behind your knees?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. That's right. You were paying attention for sure.
Where do you get those? I've never seen them.
You get them online. Philips is the company. And they're $100. And the 10,000 lux light is the one you want to get. That's all they sell, basically. The time of light exposure is important. Most of the time people need this in the morning, but not always. Sometimes they need it in the evening. If you get a slump, let's say in the afternoon, and your energy's kind of dropping, you need it later in the day. That's when you reset your clock that way. Later in the day, you'll feel energized by doing the light. But again, most people need it first thing in the morning. Okay, now here's the other one, dawn simulator. Honestly, that works better than the blue light, in my experience. People, especially people new to Fairbanks, who just come here and then they get insomnia because of the wacky light. What they need is a dawn simulator, particularly in the wintertime. And it's a real simple machine. It's a clock with a light bulb attached to it. And it's got a rheostat, which slowly turns the light bulb on. It goes from nothing to full bright, which is not very bright, by the way. You don't need that much light in about 30 minutes. It's a gentle and effective way of waking you up. No sound, no overstimulation. It just gently wakes you up. I used one myself for the first 2 years I lived here. It was a godsend. And then I just got used to living in Fairbanks and never had to use it again. Very effective, though. Very effective. Melatonin does. You take melatonin, it'll reset your clock. That's really the kind of standard treatment for this. Okay, sleep apnea. Ugh. Okay, let me just summarize the sleep apnea. I'm going to bang all these out. There's lots and lots of problems with it. Snoring, people can't breathe at night, their blood pressure goes up. And really what's happening with this is your throat closes because you're relaxed. You lay down and your throat collapses. Now you can't get any air. And your blood oxygen levels start to drop. Eventually your brain says, danger, danger, and it wakes you up, and you snort yourself awake. You take some breaths, and then you fall back asleep. Now, if you try doing that periodically through the night, you're going to wreck your night's sleep, and that's exactly what happens. So the problem is, yes, it is, because you think about it, it's throat closing. Now, if your throat is full of fat, because you're thick, it's going to close more. There's more weight. If you have a naturally thin throat, some people do. Some people have a white throat, some people have a thin throat. Sucks to be you if you have a thin throat. If you're getting older and your tissues are naturally relaxing, you're kind of slumping, right? Oh, I'm sorry, it happens. Then your throat's going to be a little more likely to close. That's the problem, is closing throat. Now, there's other kinds of apnea that relate to brain problems. We're not talking about that. This is obstructive apnea, and it is common as dirt. If you are a middle-aged male, the chances of you having sleep apnea is around 40%, maybe 50, depends on who you're looking at. Way underreported, way more of a problem than people know. And you can tell because you're tired and your brain doesn't work right. And you're thinking, I'm getting old. And then, I'm just getting old. Just got to get used to it. No, wrong. What you want to do is get it tested. Okay, lots of problems, tension things. And you get a sleep study. I'll see lots of people have it. You get a sleep study. In the sleep study, you can go see Dr. Triplehorn. He'll run you through it. The hospital's got a sleep thing. Or you can just do it at home. There's a new system. Most of the patients we treat now, we send them to the Alaska Sleep Center, and they send them home with this little box. You put it on in the comfort of your home. It has a little computer on it. It'll check whether you have it or not. People with this problem have blood sugar regulation problems. They tend to get weight gain. We talk about a vicious cycle. The worse you sleep, the more you gain weight. The more you gain weight, the worse you sleep. Oh, that's an ugly trend there. A high blood pressure again. Heart attacks and stroke. Atrial fibrillation is much, much more common and people have this problem. So when I see anybody with atrial fibrillation shows up in my practice, first thing I do is to check to see if they have sleep apnea. Okay, causes. Oh, we already talked about that. Lax throat, muscles, weight. Allergies. It's another one that causes your throat to swell up. Anything that causes your throat to get thicker. Being male. There's another one. Alcohol. Alcohol's calming. Relaxes you. You lay down, bam, your throat closes up when it's not supposed to. And smoking, likewise. Okay, the treatment here, sleep study. The treatment is you use a CPAP. CPAP is basically you're just adding pressure. It's a little mask you put on, and it pushes the air into your lungs. You breathe in, the air goes through. It gets past the pinch point. That works for most people. Some people, you need a BiPAP, which is it'll push past the pinch point and then help to suck the air back out again. If that pinch point is tighter, you'll need a BiPAP more than you'll need a CPAP. Usually what happens is you try a CPAP, it doesn't work, then you go to the BiPAP. Surgery, that's one way to open your throat. Ugh, we hate surgery, but sometimes you need it. Oral appliances, if you jut your jaw out, that opens up the space in the back of your throat, and then you can sleep better. So there's some people that's all they need. MSM spray. MSM is methylsulfonyl methane. It's used to treat arthritis mostly. It's goo. It comes in the crystalline form, but when it gets in your body, it turns into like a lubricating goo. It gooifies your tissues. So if you spray it in the back of your throat gets a little stiffer because it's got more goo in it. And now it doesn't collapse. So it's called Silent Snore, and you can buy it online. We used to keep it at the clinic, but we didn't have enough people with snoring that we used it on. But anyways, I'll let you guys know about it. It's cheap, too. That's another nice thing about it. Exercise helps. Just tonifies tissues in general. You're going to treat the blood sugar problem. Sleep on your side. I love this one. I gave this presentation to my doctors earlier today, and I said, and there's also the tie the tennis ball to the back of your pajamas method. And they looked at me like I was crazy. What? Yeah. You sew a tennis ball, like an old flat one, to the back of your pajamas. That way, if you roll on your back, you go, and then you roll back to your side. So instead of your throat collapsing, it stays open because you're sleeping on your side. It works. I've done it. I've done it with patients. It's like, we could do this CPAP thing, or we just do the tennis ball method. I vote tennis ball method as well. While we're helping them lose weight and do all this other stuff. Okay, finally, last slide, jet lag. Okay, so you fly to another time zone, and now your body thinks it's 3 o'clock, and it said it's 2:30 in the morning. Well, it won't do that. So the treatment is melatonin. Now, let me just tell you how to do this thing. So what you do, let's say you're going to fly to Frankfurt, okay, and you're going to fly in Condor. Condor leaves at 3 p.m., but in Frankfurt, it's 11 p.m. So what you do is you take your watch and you set it to 11. You go, my goodness, it's 11 o'clock. It's getting late. You take a double dose of melatonin. You yawn. And you get calm. And then, in about an hour, you'll just naturally fall asleep. And of course, this assumes you can sleep on a plane. And you're so excited, you're going to Frankfurt! Good luck. But you give it a college try, right? And then if you're lucky, you'll fall asleep. I'm one of those people who fall asleep. And you'll sleep through your plane ride, and then you'll get to Frankfurt, and your watch says, oh, look, it's 10 o'clock in the morning, it's time to go. Right? Now, meanwhile, your internal clock is giving you other information about the time, but you ignore that. You pretend, you fake it. You pretend it's 10 o'clock in the morning, and you go at your day like it's 10 o'clock in the morning, and when you get super tired at round 2, you do not go take a nap. You force yourself to stay active. You sleep at night. You do another dose of melatonin. It doesn't necessarily have to be a double dose. Do another dose of melatonin at 10 o'clock at night to establish that pattern. Go around the next day, and you'll be done. If you're super bad, it'll take you another day of doing that, and you'll be done. I had a friend when we flew over to Frankfurt, and he just took naps. It took him a week and a half to get used to it, and the trip was over. We flew back home, he had the same problem. No, don't take naps. Okay, and that's our talk. There it is. We're done. On time.